Can we just appreciate my fruit basket shirt? Like it's got all of the zodiac signs. Hi folks, it's me, Wicklow. Welcome back to another New Book Tuesday. Today is September 21st, and we've got quite a few books to go through. We're obviously going to start off with our middle grade books, as we always do, and we have two titles for this. The first one is Last Gamer Standing. Now this book is sci-fi, it has Asian representation, and it's gaming category. 12-year-old Reina is the up-and-coming junior amateur day-old gamer, competing in a virtual reality battle royale against AI monsters and human players alike. But despite Reina's rising popularity and skill, no one knows who she is. Gaming is still a boys' club, and to protect herself against trolls, she games as the mysterious the Runar. When Reina qualifies for the day-old junior tournament, sponsored by her favorite team, she knows she's got what it takes to win the championship title and the $10,000 prize. But when she's blackmailed and threatened to be doxxed, having her personal identity revealed by an anonymous troll, Reina will have to deal with the toxic gaming community, family complications, and the increasing pressure to win as the tournament gets underway. This book is in my TBR 100% because I just like the fact that I keep seeing more like gaming books appear, and especially with like my generation started it, the newer generation are very much into gaming, streaming, and everything. So I feel like this book is really gonna like connect with a lot of young readers, even readers my age and everything. So very excited to read this book. The next book that we're going to be talking about is actually the third book in a series. It is Room to Dream, and this is the Front Desk series. It's the third one in the Front Desk series, and this one is contemporary, has Asian representation as well, and it's historical fiction. And you'll see why, because you'll be like, wait, this is present day, why are you historical fiction? Well, the synopsis reads, Maya is going for her dreams. After years of hard work, Maya finally gets to go on vacation with her family to China. A total dream come true. Maya can't wait to see all her cousins and her grandparents again, especially her cousin Jean. As she roams around Beijing, witnessing some of the big changes China is going through, Maya thinks about the changes in her own life. Like Luke taking classes at the high school and Maya's own plans to be a writer are stuck. Something happened with Jason and Mia has no idea what to do about it. New buildings are popping up all around the motel and small businesses are disappearing. Can they survive? Buckle up. Maya is more determined than ever to get through the turbulence now that she finally has room to dream. This series is very interesting to me. I do want to read it. So I think I'm going to add it to my TBR. It's a little lower under my TBR because I've got so much to get through. But I do like this. Like, I've had so many teachers like tell me like this is a good story. They love it for like recommending to their students. So like I would 100% love to read it. Maybe one day I will get to it after my mild TBR list. So that was the middle grade section, and now we're going into our teen YA section. So quite of these books I've actually got arcs of, and of course I'm going to let you know. Arcs that I received have a star beside them. The first book that we're going to talk about is To Break a Covenant, which, as you'll see, I did get an arc of. This book is horror, LGBTQ+, and mystery. So, this is a debut novel as well, but Moon Basin has been haunted for as long as anyone can remember. It started when an explosion in the mine killed 16 people. The disaster made it impossible to live in the town, with underground fire spewing ash into the sky. But life in New Basin is just as fraught. The ex-mining town relies on its haunted reputation to bring in tourists. But there's much more truth to the rumors than most are willing to admit, and the mine still has a hold on everyone who lives there. Clem and Nina form a perfect loop, best friends forever, and perhaps something more. Their circle opens up for a strange girl named Leslie with a knack for training crows, and Piper, whose father is fascinated with the mine in a way that anything but ordinary. The people of New Basin start experiencing strange phenomenons. Sleepwalking, night terrors, voices that only they can hear. And no matter how many vans of ghost hunters roll through, nobody can get to the bottom of what's really going on, which is why the girls decide to enter the mine themselves. Spooky season, people. All I'm gonna say is, like, we're getting a whole bunch of, like, good spooky books, so I would, if that intrigued you, I'd add it to your TBR, like, for real. Next book we're gonna be talking about, another arc, is Big Boned. So this book is rom-com mental health. So, synopsis reads, can't you be yourself in a one-size-fits-all world? Lori is the new girl at Bayswater High, where students prize glossy hair, beach bodies, and school spirit above all else. She misses her old school, where her talent as an artist carried more weight than she does, and longs for her old family life, before her parents got divorced and her mom reinvented herself. So Lori decides that the only way to survive the rest of the year is to blend into the background. But her plans go awry when she discovers that the most popular and hottest guy in Bayswater High, Jake, is the volunteer at her brother's school. When her brother befriends Jake's sister, Lori is suddenly thrust into his unfamiliar and exhilarating world of water polo, parties, and stargazing. But with her relationship with her mother deteriorating, old anxieties resurfacing, Lori finds a new artistic release that unknowingly ignites a powerful movement. When the authorities start asking questions, Lori realizes that finding her voice may have gotten her into a world of trouble. But sometimes standing up for what you believe in is important as standing up for yourself. I don't think it's like me influencing people to say that I feel like they should read this. We don't have enough, like, body positivity books, mental health books. We don't have enough mental health books. Well, actually, we probably do. We just, in my opinion, it's never enough. Like, mental health is so important. I think so many people need representation because, like, literally, like, every person is different, so sometimes you'll identify multiple different stories about mental health to yourself. So, yeah, I would consider somebody else reading it. The next book we're going to be talking about, another arc again, is This Is Why We Lie. So, this book is considered mystery, thriller, and contemporary. Everyone in Gardner's Bay has a secret. When Jenna Dallas and Adam Cole find Colleen's body floating off the shore of their coastal town, the community of Gardner Bay is shaken. But even more shocking is the fact that her drowning was no accident. Once Jenna's best friend becomes a key suspect, Jenna starts to look for answers on her own. As she uncovers scandals inside Preston's prep school leading back to Rookwood Reform School, she knows she needs Adam by her side. As a student at Rookwood, Adam is used to getting judgmental looks, but now his friends are being investigated by the police. Adam will do whatever he can to keep them safe, even if that means trusting Jenna. As lies unravel, the truth starts to blur. Only one thing is certain: someone must take the fall. Now, I'm not saying spookiness needs to have, like, murder mysteries, but it always helps. And that's what spooky season about. It's about supernatural vibes, murder mysteries, just basically things that you're kind of skeptical to read at night, because then you're going to regret it. But, yeah. Prepare myself. The next book we're going to be talking about is Iron Widow, another book that I received an ARC of, and I cannot express how many people I need to read this, because I need to discuss it with them. But that's all I'm going to say. All I'm going to say. This book is sci-fi, fantasy, LGBTQ+, and historical fiction. So, the boys of Hunix dream of pairing up with girls to pilot Crystallises, giant transforming robots that can battle the mecha aliens that lurk beyond the Great Wall. It doesn't matter that the girls often die from the mental strain. When an 18-year-old offers herself up as a concubine pilot, it's to assassinate the ace male pilot responsible for her sister's death. But she gets her vengeance in a way nobody expected. She kills him through the psychic link that bonds them. She is labeled an Iron Widow, a much feared and much silenced kind of female pilot who can sacrifice boys to power up the Crystallises instead. To tame her unnerving yet invaluable mental strength, paired up with a lie, the strongest and most controversial male pilot. But now that she has a taste of power, she will not cower so easily. She will miss no opportunity to leverage her combined might and infamy to survive attempts against her own life until she can figure out exactly why the pilot system works in this misogynistic way. I must move on to the next one before I reveal too much of my feelings towards this book. The next book we're going to be talking about is All These Bodies. So this book is also a mystery thriller horror paranormal book. We begin the story with 16 bloodless bodies, 2 teenagers, 1 impossible explanation. Summer 1958. A string of murders plague the Midwest. The victims are found in their cars and in their homes, even in their beds, their bodies drained, but with no blood anywhere. September 19th. Their Carlson family is slaughtered in their Minnesota farmhouse. The case gets its first lead, 15-year-old Marie Catherine Hale. And the case gets its first lead. 15-year-old Marie Catherine Hale is found at the scene. She's covered in blood from head to toe, and at first she's mistaken for a survivor, but not a drop of the blood is hers. Michael Jensen, a son of the local sheriff, yearned to become a journalist and escape his small town. He never imagined that the biggest story in the country would fall into his lap, or that he would be pulled into the investigation when Marie decides that he is the only one she will confess to. As Marie recounts her version of the story, it falls to Michael to find the truth. What really happened the night the Carlsons were killed? And how did one girl wind up in the middle of all these bodies? It better be vampires, is all I'm going to say. If it's not vampires and it's a new kind of mythical creature, I'd still be interested. I just kind of like... I also wouldn't have minded if it was serial killers, but I feel like it's probably vampires. Yeah. The next book we're going to be talking about is The Bronze Beast. And that's the 3rd book in the Gilded Wolves series. So, this book is historical fiction, fantasy, romance, and an LGBTQ plus book. I'm not reading the synopsis. And I'm going to tell you why. I am reading this book. No, not this book. I am reading the first book right now, and I am very, very much in love with it. And I don't want to spoil anything for myself because, like, literally the way the story is unfolding and the way the characters are developing, there's a lot of times I like spoiling stuff for myself. Like, I'll spoil movies, I'll spoil TV shows, all that stuff. But I don't want to do that for this. Certain books, whenever they capture me like this, I don't spoil for myself. So I'm not looking at this at all, the synopsis, because that's going to spoil the second one for me and give me a hint of what the 3rd book is going to be. So I'm not going to read it. I'm just going to move on to the next book. But this one is in my TBR. Well, it's literally in a pile over there because I got it. But that one I'm going to just skip ahead and just say, like, the series seems really good. And I don't want to spoil it for myself. No. Well, we're moving on to As If on Cue. So this book is contemporary romance with some music elements to it. So, a pair of fierce foes are forced to work together to save the arts at their school in the swoonly YA enemies to lovers romance. Lifelong rivals, Natalie and Reed, have never been on the same team. So when their school's art budget faces cutbacks, of course Natalie finds herself up against her nemesis once more. She's fighting to direct the school's first ever student-written play. But for her small production to get funding, the school's award-winning band will have to lose it. And he's got no intention of letting that show go on. But when the rivalry turns into an all-out prank war that goes too far, Natalie and Reed have to face music, resulting in the worst compromise, writing and directing a musical together. At least if they deliver a sold-out show, the school board will reconsider next year's band and theater budget. Everyone could win, except Natalie and Reed, because after spending their entire lives in competition, they have absolutely no idea how to code anything. And they certainly don't know how to deal with feelings that are weirdly and definitely developing between them. Oh. I don't know how I feel about this one. It sounds really cute, but I've also had almost something with a kind of very similar plot. I've read something like that. and it really let me down. So maybe whenever I'm looking for like a good contemporary, I'll look at that one and I'll start reading it. But until then, I've got too many books to read. So it'll be revisited. The next book we're going to be talking about, another highly anticipated book. It is Into the Dying Light. It's the third book in the Age of Darkness series, and I have the first two books, and I'm very excited to finish this series. The same case is with the Gilded Wolves. I finished the first one. I have to reread the series because the first one I read like 2 years ago. So I'm not spoiling this for myself. This is on my TBR, highly anticipated. My order literally got delayed, so I have to wait till it said Friday for me to pick it up. So I will get it then, but I'm not looking at spoilers. I'm not looking at the synopsis, so we're gonna speed past this and look at the next one. The next book we're gonna be talking about is Things We Couldn't Say, which is family, sports, LGBTQ+, and romance. So, there's always been a hole in Gio's life. Not because he's both into guys and girls, not because his father has some drinking issues, not because his friends are always bringing up their drama. No, the hole in Gio's life takes the shape of his birth mom, who let Gio, his brother, his father, go when he was 9 years old. For 8 years, he never heard a word from her, and now she just showed up in his life, and she expects to be welcomed back. It's hard for Gio to know what to do. Can he forgive her like she wants to be forgiven, or should he tell her she lost her chance in his life? Complicating things further, Gio starts to hang out with David, a new guy in his basketball team. Are they friends? More than friends? Gio's not sure, especially because he's not sure what he wants from anyone right now. There's no easy answer to love, whether it's family love or friend love or romantic love. In The Things We Couldn't Say, J. Cole, acclaimed author of Tyler Johnson Was Here, shows us a guy trying to navigate love in all its ambiguity. By the way, I read Tyler Johnson Was Not Here and I cried. So I actually forgot that was that author until I literally saw that it was the same author. So this is instant TBR because the last book made me cry. Also, I hardly ever see bisexual male characters. So this is another great reason for that I want to read this book, because sexuality and pansexuality is finally getting more representation in books. But let's be real, I hardly ever see a male character who is bisexual in a book. So, highly anticipated now. Literally, probably might pop to the bookstore today, because it's out today, and grab it if my bookstore has it. See? This is why I do this. Like, yes, I look up all the books that got released today, but I find books that I really want to read then sometimes. Sometimes I'm on the ball, and sometimes I'm surprised. Okay, next book we're going to talk about is another arc that the publisher kind of sent to my bookstore, and it's my turn to read it now because I got the book. We all take turns reading the books because obviously they want to see how many people, like the staff, like it, so then they can recommend it to customers in the future. And it is The Other Merlin. This is going to be the first book in a series, and it is retelling romance and LGBTQ+. So, welcome to the greatest kingdom of Camelot. Prince Arthur's a depressed botanist who would rather marry a library than Princess. Lancelot's been demoted to castle guard after a terrible misunderstanding, and nothing is going according to plan. Then Arthur accidentally pulls the sword from the stone. In his defense, he was drunk and mostly kidding, and now everyone's convinced he's some prophesized hero. Emery Merlin is struck in her small town. Her father, the legendary court wizard, disappeared years ago, and Emery's been peddling theater tricks to make ends meet. When a royal messenger arrives summoning her far less talented twin brother to serve as Prince Arthur's right-hand wizard, Emery is understandably upset. But after Emmett becomes indisposed thanks to a bad spell, Emery disguises herself as her brother and travels to the royal court to impersonate him until they can switch. Studying magic at the castle is everything Emery hoped for. But life in King Uther's court is full of scandals, lies, backstabbing critters. What's a casual bisexual teen wizard masquerading as her twin brother to do, other than fall for the handsome prince, stir trouble with the floppish Lord Gawain, offend Princess Guinevere, and make herself indispensable to the future of Camelot? It seems to be a little bit witty too, especially from the synopsis. I haven't started it yet, so I'm very, very excited. I hope it kind of keeps that wit and humor. So we've just finished our teen section, and we're moving on to our fiction, romance, sci-fi, and fantasy series. So we're going to kick off with our actual romance genre, and we have 2 titles for that. When Sparks Fly is the first one. It is contemporary, humor, and romance. Now, running the Spark House, a hotel event space that has been in her family for years, has been Avery Sparks' lifelong dream. After years of working hard and making personal sacrifices, Avery and her 2 younger sisters have turned the Spark House into a premier destination in Colorado Springs. Avery's living her best life. She works with her sisters, loves every minute of it. She has a great group of friends, and she lives in a fantastic condo with her best friend Declan. She might not have any love in her life, but she's happy. But everything comes to a screeching halt when Avery is in a car accident, leaving her immobile for weeks. After nearly losing Avery, Declan insists that he will be the one to take care of her while she recovers. However, as Declan becomes Avery's caretaker, lines begin to blur. Ooh, is it friends to lovers? It is, isn't it? Avery and Declan have been best friends since college and always had an attraction to one another. Oh, yes it is, yes! But she ends up dating his best friend, Sam. They successfully stamped down any feelings they may have ever had for one another. Now, as Declan and Avery spend more time, they begin to wonder what would have happened if she had dated him instead of Sam. What starts as a friend helping out another friend turns into foreplay, and before they realize it, they realize how deeply they care for one another. But when things get serious, their past threatens to destroy everything they've built. No, I want it. Ooh, okay. And this is going to the TBR. I kind of really into friends to lovers. Like, I love enemies to lovers, but I also just love whenever it's just like, hey, like, we've been friends, like, we have history, we have communication, we have, like, we at least love each other platonically, and then, like, they're just like, oh, slowly it's becoming something more, because they're always, like, a safe person. So I'm really excited to read this now. Okay, the next and last book in the romance genre that we're at is For Love or Honey. So this book is contemporary and romance. And the cover's really cute too. I love bees. I have a tattoo of a bee on my shoulder, and I really do love bees, so this better have bee influences in there. I'm going to be so mad. So mad. When the devil comes to town, you have to meet him head on. Which is exactly what I did when Grant Stone pulled into our small Texas town, driving a sports car that I could fit into the bed of my truck. Wearing a suit as black as his soul, he's here to acquire mineral rights to 6 farms in town. There's no way he's getting mine. I don't make deals with the devil. So when he challenges me to show him the small-time ropes, my motivation is the prospect of seeing him make a fool of himself. He might have an angle, but if he thinks he can finagle me into endangering my bee farm, yes, it's a bee farm! He's got another thing coming until the line in the sand is washed away. My farm is in danger, a town in upheaval, a man who will stop at nothing to get what he wants, and me in the middle. When the devil comes to town, you have to meet him head on, and when he sneaks into your heart, he'll only break it. You better not break it. Sir, if you hurt the bees, you're dead to me. I don't care if you get together, if you hurt the bees, you die. Save the bees. So yeah, TBR. Bees? Oh, I'm so down. I'm so down for bees. I love bees. Yes. Okay, so we've left romance and we have moved on to our sci-fi section. The single book in the sci-fi section. So, Plagueburgs is... Plagueburgs? I don't know why it sounded wrong to myself. Plagueburgs is the book we're going to be talking about. So it's sci-fi and dark fantasy. So, glowing red lines split their face. Shock red hair and clothes warn people to flee their approach. They are plague birds, the most powerful merging of humans and artificial intelligence who serve as judges and executioners after the collapse of civilization. And the plague bird's judgment is swift and deadly, as Krista discovered as a child when she watched one kill her mother. In a world of gene-mod humans constantly watched over by benevolent AIs, everyone hates or fears the plague birds. But to save her father and home village, Krista becomes the very creature she fears most. And her first task as a plague bird is hunting down an ancient group of murderers wielding magic-like powers. This sounds like magic, too. What? Okay. As Krista and her AI symbiote travel farther from home than she ever imagined, they are plunged into a strange world where she judges wrongdoers, befriends other outcasts, and uncovers an extremely personal conspiracy that threatens the lives of millions. Ooh. Plague Birds is a genre-bending mix of sci-fi, fiction, dark fantasy, and the epic story of a young woman who becomes one of the future's most hated creatures with a killer AI bonded to her very blood. Oh, TBR, like this sounds really good. And I want to read this. Okay, folks, we're on to fantasy, which is the last genre we're going to talk about, and also only has one book. Final book we're going to be talking about today. So, for those of you who liked The House in the Cerulean Sea, this is the author's next book, Under the Whispering Door. I did like The House in the Cerulean Sea until I found out what the context was that he was inspired to write this for. I'm very not okay with that because he took inspirations for, I think it's called the 60 Scoop, where like the Catholic Church and like the American government, the Canadian government stole indigenous children from their families and like try to convert them. And there's a lot of bad stuff that they did to those children. Like they murdered those children, they sexually assaulted those children, they left scars that will never heal, and there's generational trauma that will literally take generations upon generations upon generations to ever heal, because like there's so much harm inflicted that if you don't get help, and a lot of indigenous people are literally fucking shit on, and they're not helped, or the help's very minimal in my opinion, because we have so many indigenous women being murdered and never found. They're always going missing, and nobody is doing a lot. Like I had to find out in college about this. I've lived here since I was 15, and I had to find out about that scenario in college. Like that's shameful. That's shameful. But this author, I thought that they made an apology and made statement about this, but I'm actually not sure. So I would quote that, or do your own research. This is just highly anticipated, so the only reason why I'm reading it, I personally don't want to read it. Like, I'm really turned off the fact that I read that. I don't know, like indigenous people, I'm listening to indigenous people because they were really hurt. Like, this is an awful thing to take inspiration from. The one I'm talking about is this House in the Cerulean Sea. Under the Whispering Door has nothing to do with that. It's just like the author should never have done that. Never. But we'll move on. We'll put a pin in that for a second. Under the Whispering Door is fantasy, LGBTQ+, romance, and paranormal. When a reaper comes to collect Wallace Price from his own funeral, Wallace suspects he might really be dead. Instead of leading him directly to the afterlife, the reaper takes him to a small village on the outskirts of the path through the woods. Tucked between mountains is a particular tea shop, run by a man named Hugo. Hugo is the tea shop's owner to locals and the ferryman to souls who need to cross over. But Wallace isn't ready to abandon the life he barely lived. With Hugo's help, he finally starts to learn about all the things he missed in life. When the manager, a curious and powerful being, arrives at the tea shop and gives Wallace 1 week to cross over, Wallace sets about living a lifetime in 7 days. This seems really sweet, and maybe one day I'll consider it, but right now I don't feel comfortable and I won't. So that is my thoughts on that for the moment. You can take everything I say with a grain of salt. Everybody has their own opinions, but I would do your research and make sure you're not harming anyone when you do read it. So that is a wrap, people. This was all of the books that were released today. If you see any books that you like, let me know. Like, comment, subscribe, or whatever. Hope you can do it. Hope you like some books. Hope you read some books. And I will see you next time. Have a great day.